again, may Allah keep us all safe. Alhamdulillah.
Ameen.
So we just finished Tarawih now. Now it's
Oh.
already 9:50 p.m.
Oh, subhanAllah, inshallah. Hopefully,
And one thing I'd like to share with also the audience now, I don't know how many people are joining because we are live also on YouTube. But subhanAllah, I always focus on the positive side. People are complaining about the lockdown, and it's true, it's struggle and this. But as a Muslim, you always look for the lessons, for the benefits. You always appreciate the ni'mah of Allah Azza wa Jal. And one thing that I noticed, subhanAllah, this year, no one is arguing anymore about the number of the Taraweeh. Should it be 12 or 8 or 20, which is really good because it shouldn't be an issue. You pray between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. Whether it is 8 or 12 or 20 or whatever number it is, it shouldn't be an issue. And now, again, no one is talking about it, subhanAllah, because you're praying at home. So it's between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is something I really enjoy, that there is no pressure. Oh, no, you have to pray 8 or you have... Because this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Salatul layli mathna mathna. You pray 2 rak'ah, 2 rak'ah. Once you find that the subh is approaching or you want to sleep, you pray witr and that's it. So subhanAllah, it seems like these are blessings in disguise. There are many benefits that we are learning. Sometimes it's the hard way, but it's still a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal.
SubhanAllah, so true. This is really true, and international, all over the world. Awesome. Wow.
Some issues are gone. Suddenly, no more fighting about certain issues. So it's good. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
On the other side, also, there is a sad fact. I notice it now that the masjids that are relying heavily on Ramadan, because it is the major event of the year, now they are hit hard. They are struck really, really hard. And they make over like 70% of their income in Ramadan.
And our imams as well.
True.
So it's time for them to earn.
It's time now to rethink how we can sustain and have a model where it's sustainable for year round, not just only in Ramadan.
Right. I know, studying with you, even in the bachelor's degree program, it was the first time that I've heard the concept of waqf, and you were really a promoter of this, this idea of, having a business or some type of retail or property where we use it as a waqf. We can dedicate all income generated from that to support the masjid, so that it's not relying on, the donations of people.
I was shocked, honestly. And sometimes, subhanAllah, you remind me of memories almost 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. One time I went to give khutbah in, where is it? I forgot, actually, Wichita.
Oh, Wichita, okay.
Yes. Kansas City, yes. In Kansas City. And I was talking about this, that we need something that is, people are tired. You ask them to donate and they are generously donating. And then the next day, please donate. What happened? You just donated. Yes, that's for building the masjid. Now, so they were really upset after the khutbah. They said, I spoiled their program because they had a project and they were asking. So I said, I'm sorry, I didn't know. But the only model that I liked, I saw it only a few times. One of them is in Arizona, in Tempe, Arizona, where next to the masjid, they have 3-4 shops. Those shops, they are rented out. So the income is going directly to the masjid.
Wow.
There will be always donations, yes, but they are relying on that. So they don't have to wait for people to donate every time. And now they can feel it. Now they can feel it, subhanAllah. So
hopefully we learn the lesson and really start thinking out of the box, like you're saying right now, and turning to the deen for the answer, not turning to just major donation projects. Because even here in New York, as I mentioned, unlike Muslim countries where many of the masajids are sponsored by the government, everything here is self-sponsored. Everything here is on donations, and we're reminded about this every single Friday.
They are jobless. Oh, we don't need you. So what do they do now? So oh, we are sorry because the administration says we're sorry, we're not receiving donations, so we cannot pay you. And this is not right.
It's not. SubhanAllah. But I don't know what the barrier is to the concept of waqf And because we have a lot of businessmen in our communities. I mean, we're not shy of businessmen.
That's what really saddens me, that we are very smart when it comes to dunya, but when it comes to the religion, you know what we implemented here at Aris, alhamdulillah, since the beginning of this year, all classes are free.
Right. I read that.
We have cost, of course, and we encourage people, and alhamdulillah, people were generous. Honestly, even our staff were hesitant. They were skeptic and they were afraid. But alhamdulillah, it proved that it is successful. We have the Takaful project, the Takaful model. It's very good. Those who are capable and able to pay more, they are. And alhamdulillah, we had few people, they are paying much more than they should be paying because they know they are covering for others. And what is better way than doing it as continuous charity? Imagine if from this extra money, some of those who studied, they will become da'is, they will become speakers. So alhamdulillah, so this is how it should be. I don't know why we are very smart when it comes to dunya. And now people, when the pandemic was global and people were worried, everyone was asking, should I sell my stocks? Should I buy whatever I do? Who's thinking about the Muslim communities? Who's thinking about the masjid? So anyways, we want to open the floor for our participants if they have any questions. It's good always to see you. So let's see. Alhamdulillah. I don't see any questions. You can type your questions or you could open your mics. We didn't mute you all, or actually we did mute you, but you have the option to open your microphone and ask the question, brothers and sisters. What time is it now, Sheikh?
It is almost 10 o'clock, 9:57 a.m. So
everyone's so
still sleeping from the Fajr prayer. And
today is Friday. It should be working day, right? And for you, there is
it is a working day, but a lot of businesses have closed, and a lot of people are still staying home.
Wait, the only people that today the 1st of May or the 2nd? Today is the 1st of May, right?
Today's the 1st of May.
So this should be Labor Day. It should be by law. It should be.
Yes, a holiday. Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. So it's actually very quiet out. Even on the streets are really empty. The only people that are going to work are the essential workers, the electrical workers, the transit, bus and train operators. Last night they made a decree that for the first time in the history, New York City transportation will be closed at nighttime. Usually this is 24 hours, buses and trains.
Yeah, a lot of businesses here used to be 24 hours, but they all closed, only from 8 to 8. Yeah.
Right.
Fair, inshallah. Okay, so I don't know if you saw the question, Sheikh. One of the questions, which I receive actually a lot. How can we know that our ibadah in Ramadan is accepted?
Oh, that's the first question.
Yes. And then a lot of welcoming you. They are happy to see you again. So we should host you frequently. Now our staff, they know, and you tell them your time, and inshallah it will be
an honor, a pleasure for me on my end. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. So yes, I see the question. How can we know that our ibadah in Ramadan is accepted?
Yeah.
One major sign and indication of knowing that the ibadah in Ramadan has been accepted is your behavior after Ramadan. Are you keeping up with the ibadah that you were engaged in inside of the month of Ramadan? In the month of Ramadan, it's very easy. We fast every day and we have an intention and we say to ourselves, inshallah, outside of Ramadan, I'm going to continue fasting. This is so easy. But so many people, after the month of Ramadan has ended, they struggle to follow it up with the other sunnah fasts, which will grant us a reward for fasting the entire year, the days that we should fast in Shawwal. Also, even in our ibadah, in our acts of worship, we find that we were people who were constantly reading the Quran. We were people who were constantly praying, not only our obligatory prayers on time, but also the sunnah prayers. Have you continued upon that path outside of Ramadan? This is one of the major signs to see if the worship inside of Ramadan was accepted or not. If your dua to change, to better yourself, to become more of a worshiper of Allah, to become more of an individual who remembers Allah frequently, you must examine your behavior immediately outside of the month of Ramadan. As well, inside of the month of Ramadan, we should not be worried about our deeds being accepted. We should have husn dhan of Allah, have a good thought of Allah, and know that if we are engaged in that which Allah has made obligation upon us, which is the fast, and we are establishing our daily prayers, and we are struggling and striving under these difficult situation, under quarantine, to do as much good as we can, then definitely we should believe and be certain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will in fact accept our deeds, our salah, our fasts, and we should pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He helps us to continue this behavior outside of Ramadan.
Ameen, Ameen. Jazakallah khair.
Inshallah.
I will read the next question. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Alaikum assalam. Can we recite the below invocation after takbir in our normal fard salah or only in tahajjud? Allahumma rabba Jibreel wa Mikael wa Israfil fatir. Okay, actually this dua, Daryl, this dua, the Prophet ﷺ used to say it in tahajjud. This dua used to be one of the du'as of istiftah that the Prophet ﷺ would start it in tahajjud. Now you're asking, can I say it at the fard? You can, but did the Prophet ﷺ say it? No. There are other du'as for istiftah the Prophet ﷺ used to say in the fard prayer. And alternating actually is a reminder that you don't just automatically and without thinking, you just read the dua like it's a routine. No, it's ibadah, it's not a habit. So you are always mindful of what you say. So for the tahajjud, there is this specific dua. Now, can you change it? Of course. There are people who don't even say the dua. They say Allahu Akbar and they start reading. Does that mean their prayer is not accepted? Of course not. It is accepted. So this is just a recommendation. This dua in particular for the tahajjud. So keep it for the tahajjud. You want to say it at another time, you can, but it's up to you. You always better to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. There are more than 3 different types of dua istiftah for the fard prayer. This one, the Prophet ﷺ used to say it only in tahajjud. Allahu alam. Okay. Sheikh, are you able to see the questions?
Yes, I can see them.
Okay, so
hold on, let me see. We have, is it permissible to pray in a dark room with only the table light or dim light so that we can get khushu' in our prayer? Very clever question. So this question related to praying in a dark room or with dimmed light. It is not recommended. I would not recommend for the salah to be prayed in a room with the dim light, because that will make us inclined to falling asleep during the prayer. And one may take a more relaxed position in the prayer as a sign of khushu', but it's really tiredness. It is important that we turn the light on so that we are fully aware, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has reminded us in the salah that, you know, and the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us that khushu' is not tied to how much light is available while we are praying. Khushu' is a mindset. Khushu' is something that is within the heart itself. And as well, we know that one of the ways in which a person can attain khushu' in the salah is by being attentive to what is being said in the salah, is striving. There are many of us who are not fluent in the Arabic language. There are some of us who have some of the Arabic language. And if we were to recite with mindfulness of what is being said, that will help us to attain greater khashya, greater khushu' and awe and sincerity in our acts of ibadah. Dimming the light or turning them very low will only cause us to become more restless, to become more tired, and to become lazy in the salah. And Allah has warned against approaching the salah in a lazy manner. So I would not recommend dimming the lights. Please turn the lights on for the short prayer that we are doing.
Jazakallah khair. Yeah, actually, some people, they have this sense of feeling khushu' if they close their eyes or they turn the lights off. But you need to remember what the Prophet ﷺ did, and he cared more than all of us about khushu'. So his eyes were always open. So Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feek. One brother, he says, Assalamu alaikum salam. I'm your student from West Africa. MashaAllah. I really want to study with you. Islam is very weak in my area. I humbly ask your assistance. Well, whatever we can do, we will be happy to help. Inshallah, you can contact our staff, and inshallah, we will do whatever we can. Bi'idhnillah. Okay, Sheikh.
Wait. Male love bestowers protection. Okay. What is the ruling on celebrating birthdays within family members? So celebrating the birthday. So I thought these questions would be connected to the Salah, to Ramadan, but we're having a free-for-all. No problem. So definitely.
Yeah. Actually, this is good. I actually need to remind our students also, because it's better to keep it around one topic, but we didn't announce it. So right. We will do that next time, inshallah. Yeah.
So definitely celebrating the birthday within family members, you will find the majority of people stating that celebrating the birthday is not a tradition that was encouraged by the Prophet ﷺ, or a tradition that was encouraged amongst his companions and those who followed after them. We know that this concept of celebrating birthdays is something that really came out of Europe. And if you've done a little bit of research in this area, you find that during those time in the Dark Ages, there was much sickness and disease and black plagues. So when an entire year would pass by and they would make to see the next year, you find that they would make it a cause of celebration, that they were able to persevere, right? So basically, should we or should we not celebrate the birthdays? I would encourage everyone to celebrate, to take that year as a time to reflect on one's deeds, as a time to reflect on growth. I don't necessarily encourage that we celebrate birthdays in the same sense in the Western idea and concept of birthdays, and big songs and parties and inviting everyone over, but to recognize that your child has reached a milestone, is getting older, is growing in height, and is going to be starting school, is getting closer to graduating. These are definitely great milestones to recognize in the lives of our children. As for ourselves, it should be a year of reflection and contemplation, that we are getting closer to Allah. Every year that we are getting older, it's only us getting closer to meeting Allah. And we really hold ourselves to account as to what our last year was and what the future is going to be. So I do not deny that there should be some type of recognition when it comes to growing in age, as long as we stay away from the tradition of others, which is not within the context of Islam. Maybe Sheikh Issam, if you wanted to say some words, you can add to it.
No, Jazakallah khair. It's different, actually. People have different traditions, and birthdays, they are not something that is religious. So as long as you don't attach it to anything religious, that's fine. I personally wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't do it. People start competing because it is about dunya, or you didn't get me a gift, or it's trouble. And as you said, if you remember the milestones and this, then that would be a good thing. Jazakallah khair. Let me see. Alaikum salam. With the lockdown, we are working at home and taking care of the children at the same time. I feel I'm not doing as much ibadah as last Ramadan. How do I make time to cater to everything? Well, I say that from time to time. Actually, we have this sense of being overwhelmed, and we try to do more. Actually, you could achieve more by doing less. There are books written about that, where it's not about quantity. If you spend 1 hour with quality time with Allah Azza wa Jal, that's much better than. Remember, every time Allah Azza wa Jal mentions هو الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن, the second ayah of Surah Al-Mulk, it is He who created death and life to test you who's better. Allah didn't say who's more. So trying to say, oh, I want to do this, taking care of your children, actually this is on its own is ibadah. So alhamdulillah, you are getting the reward by taking care of your children. So trying to focus on one ibadah, but with quality, that's much better than doing here and there, but only number without any spirit in it. The Prophet ﷺ, when Aisha radiallahu anha was asked about his prayers during the night, she mentioned the raka'at, 8. He would never exceed them. So some people thought that this is not much, 8 rak'ah only, but Aisha immediately said, فَلَا تَسَلْ عَنْ طُولِهِنَّ وَحُسْنِهِنَّ. Do not ask about how long they were, how much time they took, and how beautiful they were. So that's the thing. Maybe Allah Azza wa Jal would bless you with doing one deed, but you do it good, and this means it's better than the feeling that you did something good last Ramadan, that's good. And now you want to do something better, that's even, alhamdulillah, good. But it doesn't mean that you do more or you try to do here and there. Yes, it is different now in this year with the pandemic, but you can try to focus. We couldn't go to the masjids this year. That's one sad thing. But on the other hand, you are able to pray on your own. You don't have the pressure of looking at others, or there is always benefit of what you are doing. So focus on that, trying to do less, that's fine, but even with quality. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, when Abdullah bin Mas'ud said Abu Bakr radiallahu anh surpassed the companions, it wasn't because of much ibadah that he did. Something settled in his heart. So if you leave this Ramadan, inshallah, with a better heart, with better conviction, with stronger iman, that's much better than just repeating ibadat.
Okay, the next question I see is, one second. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What if a disbeliever refuses to believe in the existence of God because of the prevalence of calamities and injustice in the world, i.e., now we see the pandemic has caused thousands of loss of lives? How do we respond while trying to give da'wah when they act on the mercy of God to us in the difficult times? First, I would like to just make a quick comment that, when we are asking these questions, we should refer to God as Allah, because this is the best and most appropriate name. We are speaking in a chat room that is among Muslims, so we should get in the habit of referring to God as Allah. Second, this question is twofold. The first one is, how do we respond to a disbeliever who refuses the existence? We have to understand that the disbeliever, their concept of Allah is not the same as our concept of Allah. Their concept of what a God should do and what a God should not do is not the same with what a Muslim's concept is of what a God should or should not do. What do I mean by that? In those who deny the existence of God, they see any affliction or any harm or any challenge or any trial as a sign and indication that Allah is not merciful. While in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, in Surah Baqarah, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم. And perhaps you may dislike a thing while in fact it is good for you. For this COVID-19, this coronavirus that we're going through right now, definitely it is something that we dislike, right? It is causing loss of life. It is causing, especially here in the States, I'm not sure globally, loss of income. A lot of people have lost their jobs. I read an article this morning, it's over 30 million Americans have filed for unemployment. This is a severe blow. But
here also, a lot of people
as well, yeah. Right? Yeah. So definitely, it is something that we dislike, and Allah is not denying that we will dislike it, but there is some good in it. And that is what we need to be focusing our attention on. If I was giving da'wah to someone who denied the existence of God and was only pointing to the loss of life, I would recognize that, yes, there is loss of life, but what has benefited? What are some of the things that we have gained as a result of this virus? We have gained global unity and global community. We are seeing countries helping one another, and countries that were at odds with one another, supporting one another, sending relief, sending ventilators, sending doctors. Doctors have become international. We begin to truly recognize the difficult work of our teachers who are, educating our children now that they're all home and we have to teach them every day. We have come to recognize our first responders and firefighters and EMTs and what they're doing. We find that being under quarantine has forced us to be home with our families and to spend more time with our families. You do not know how many relationships are on the brink of destruction because they're not with each other. The husband is working and the wife is busy and they do not know one another. But this quarantine has allowed us and given us a chance to reset, to come back home, maybe to rekindle those relationships, to rekindle and to fix and repair those relationships. There are many youth that I know who do not see their parents because their parents are working to support them. Now they have this time, this literal, maybe a month or 2 months, to sit with their father, to learn about themselves, to build relationships. One of the tabi'een asked our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, his name was Al-Aswad, and he said, what was the Prophet like inside of his home? What was the Prophet like when he would enter his house? And our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, كَانَ يَكُونُ فِي مِهْنَةِ أَهْلِهِ, that he was one who was very occupied with his family when he was home. Putting us being under quarantine gives us an opportunity to serve our family like the Prophet ﷺ did in his house, and to be ever present in our families' lives. So definitely there are things that you can point to show the good in this pandemic. How do we look for Allah's mercy during this time of difficulty? As Muslims, we know, as the Prophet ﷺ said, that the believer is not tested with anything, even the pricking of a thorn, except that it's an expiation for him. So we should look at this disease and the difficulty that it is bringing and know that every physical difficulty, every mental difficulty, every challenge that we are facing is an expiation of sins for us, will hopefully purify us and will grant us nearness to Allah in deeds and actions. MashaAllah, Sheikh Shuaib. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How are you doing?
Where is Sheikh?
I just saw him pop up on the screen. Yes, so definitely this is a time that we can, this is definitely a time in which the mercy of Allah is ever present, because our aqidah, our religion, the essence of the pillars of our religion teach us that with every difficulty that the believer is faced with is a form of expiation, and being forgiven for sins is the greatest form of mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bestow upon us. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam, and Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair. Sheikh Shuaib, can you, would you like to add something? How do we respond while trying to give da'wah when they ask on the mercy of Allah to us in the difficult times? MashaAllah, Sheikh Hassan adequately answered. Do you want to add anything? We want to put you in the loop.
Please.
Sheikh Shuaib, your mic is muted.
It's okay. How is everyone? How is everyone, Sheikh? How are you?
Alhamdulillah, now we can hear you.
MashaAllah. Yeah, I was with the newborn baby, holding him, and I saw this live session in the Facebook. MashaAllah, I saw you and the American Sheikh with us. MashaAllah. So I said I should also join.
Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah. See, this is one of the blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal. Although we are physically away, but we are never really far from one another.
Alhamdulillah.
One in the east, one in the middle, and one in the west. Alhamdulillah.
Yes.
Allah Azza wa Jal united us. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah.
Barakallah feekum.
Feekum barakallah. So I want to go through the questions actually, because I am the one who's late, and I have another class tomorrow early, and I still have some things to do.
Yes.
I will read one question. Is it obligatory to complete the entire Quran in Ramadan? Is it obligatory to read the Quran in Ramadan? No. There is no single ayah or hadith from the Quran or the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ where you have to do that in Ramadan. Of course, the pious predecessors, they used to do that frequently, and in Ramadan even more. Subhanallah, what is amazing is that sometimes we focus on, again, the number, the quantity. We don't focus on the quality. It's ironic. You see someone who deals with riba, and he reads ayatul riba, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى, but he's still dealing with riba. So how could that benefit him when, on the other hand, someone else, he abandons riba? So unfortunately, a lot of people are focusing on how many khatmas have you finished, how many times have you read the Quran, which is good, but there is something far better. Allah Azza wa Jal always commanded us to reflect on the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ, as the Shaykh Jazallah Khair earlier mentioned, the implementation, kana Rasulullah ﷺ, kana Quran. It was embodiment of the Quran. So this is what we need. If you can read the Quran entirely several times, alhamdulillah, that's good. But what is better is to implement the Quran, to make sure that whatever you read, you try to implement it in your day-to-day life. Allah Ta'ala alam. So Sheikh Shuaib, please go ahead. If you can read the questions, Bismillah, you can now answer also.
Where to read the questions? Okay, here in the chat, isn't it?
Yes, I can read for you.
I saw the.
Yeah.
MashaAllah, you are our leader. You can answer the questions. I just joined to benefit.
Yeah, Sheikh, go ahead. I like to withdraw slowly now, mashallah. You can cover both of you, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
How can the issues with the problem of evil is mostly coming from Judeo-Christian perspective, where limit the attributes of God. A proper understanding of who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is would be clear.
No, Sheikh, there are some earlier questions.
But I'm not able to see any.
Okay, I will read the question. Is the following true?
Okay.
Is the following true? I read this in one of the Telegram channels. Qiyamul Layl, the entire night from Isha to Fajr, is against the Sunnah, except during Ramadan. For the Sunnah is to stay awake in the night for those capable, and sleeping during the day is better than sleeping at night during Ramadan, especially for the worshipper. Sheikh Shuaib, your input on this.
Fiqh questions are always difficult. Yeah, I also saw this on the page of Sheikh Tarifi. May Allah hasten his release.
Ameen.
Yeah, the better is to strictly follow the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We know from the Sunnah, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would also take rest. He would divide his night. In the beginning of the night, he would sleep. And in the middle of the night, he would wake up for prayer. So Jawful Layl, the middle of the night. And before Fajr, he would take some rest. Again, he would sleep. And this is famous from the Sunnah. So it's always better. No one disagrees with this, that it's always better. The Sunnah is always better in everything. But from the Salaf, from the early pious predecessors, we have some who used to worship whole night. And it differs from person to person. Does a person have capability? But making it a habit or thinking that it's better or preaching it to others as something which is recommended or good, I think this can fall into bid'ah. So if we make it, a person can do, if a person is free, he doesn't have anything to do, he wakes up in the night, some people study, seek knowledge whole night, some people they pray. So I don't think it's a problem per se, but turning it into a practice between the Muslims and thinking that it's better than the Sunnah makes it problematic. But of course, what the Prophet ﷺ did is always better. And there is hikmah also, there is wisdom in it. See, if we take the difficult path in ibadah, in everything, we will not be able to show steadfastness in that. So if we say, let me fast every day, let me pray in the night from Isha to Fajr, maybe we do it for some days, we do it for some weeks, and after that we're not able to do it because it's something which is difficult. So what is better? Better is to take small steps according to the Sunnah and be steadfast on it. So praying from Isha to Fajr for 2 weeks and then leaving it, and praying consistently whole year, making it a habit of just waking up for tahajjud, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or just 5 minutes. What is better? Better is, of course, those 5 minutes in which you are steadfast, you show istiqamah, then praying whole night for 2-3 weeks and leaving it. Wallahu a'lam. Wallahu a'lam.
Barakallah fiqh. Jazakallah khair, ya Sheikh. Okay, ya Mashaykh, if you excuse me, you can continue. Sheikh Hassan, inshallah. So we will arrange another one, inshallah. It was good to see you, inshallah. How is the baby?
Alhamdulillah, he's giving us a bit of hard time, like all babies, newborns.
Allah make it easy, mashallah. Okay, barakallah fiqh. Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Naam, bismillah. Allah.
Hassan, nice to see you after a long time.
Yes, mashallah. Very good to see you as well. You're not in Malaysia?
I'm in Turkey. I'm in Istanbul.
Oh, you're in Turkey. Mashallah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Alhamdulillah. How is quickly before we go back to the questions, is everyone under quarantine as well? There too, everyone's in the home, no one can leave.
Here technically we will call it slowdown or partial lockdown. Oh. They have weekend curfews, Saturday, Sunday. But on weekdays, there is a slowdown. But everything is, markets are open and everything.
No one is harassed, and you're not fined if you're outside. You don't have to wear a mask outside.
Yeah, no, wearing the mask is compulsory.
Encouraged.
Yeah.
Oh,
but some are wearing, some are not wearing, and it's fine.
Right.
We have more than 100,000 cases.
Right. Here in New York, they're encouraging wearing the masks only when interacting, like a business, like if you go into a store or something. But if you're outside, you can walk around without a mask, no problem. You can drive without a mask, no problem.
Because in principle, it has become very difficult. Social distancing and wearing masks. Maybe for a week, for 2 weeks, it becomes easy. But
my wife said something interesting to me. My wife said something interesting yesterday. She said, they banned the niqab in France, and now everyone's wearing masks. She goes, our Muslim sisters in France, they should just wear a black mask for the rest of their time in France and say precaution. And they have the niqab again.
Al-jazā'u min jins al-amal. This is from Allah.
That's well.
Okay, you can take this.
Okay, Sheikh, if the Imam reads a dua after prayer, what are we meant to say? I know it is not sunnah, but do we stay in the jama'ah or not, I guess? So this is a very precarious situation, because we know that it is not an established sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ would make congregational dua after each and every salah. But depending on the masajid that you go to, you may find that it may be the tradition or the norm in that masjid and among those congregants to sit in jama'ah and to make dua after. I would recommend that those who are present and who are more learned when it comes to the tradition of the Prophet ﷺ in making dua in congregation after salah, that out of respect you sit. You do not get up and leave, because it will be taken as a sign of disrespect. No one knows your level. No one knows what you have studied. No one knows what you have been exposed to. All they will see is, mashallah, this person, they consider themselves to be a student of knowledge. And every time their imam is making dua, they are so disrespectful, they get up and they leave. And so we want to make sure that we don't turn the people away from the guidance. We want to make sure that we respect our elders and respect the communities that we are living amongst. So I would say that when the imam finishes the salah and he turns in dua and makes dua in congregation, that you sit respectfully and you wait until the dua has concluded. And then when it has ended, then you can either make your sunnah or you can go home and make your sunnah. I don't think we're going to be having this situation anytime soon because of the quarantine, but I do not encourage for you to get up and leave, because it will be shown as a sign of disrespect, and we want to be a means of bringing the people into the sunnah and not be a cause for them to flee from it because of ignorance. And Allah knows best. Are you able to see the next question for you, Sheikh?
Yeah, the questions are in the chat room, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the questions I see in my chat room, they're coming to me, isn't it?
Yes, it should be coming to the both of us. The next question here was, Sheikh, can you please share some stories from the time of the Salaf which we can learn from with regards to how they approach Ramadan? MashaAllah, this is a lecture in itself, Sheikh Shuaib.
Yeah, it needs time. It needs time.
Right. Inshallah.
But we have,
yes.
we have some examples, like the famous Imam Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah. He would dedicate himself to the Quran, understanding the Quran. So this is important. This is month of the Quran. And even in seeking knowledge, when I read about the traditional methods and the contemporary books, most of these books, they focus on which book to read first, which book next, the beginner's level, the intermediate level, and so on and so forth. But I think what we miss in seeking knowledge and understanding of a deen is the method of the Salaf. Their focus would be the Quran. They would begin with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this should be the focus in Ramadan. And we know these scholars like Imam Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah, he is from the scholars of fiqh, and they contributed a lot to the understanding of law and fiqh and whatnot. But that would not stop them from connecting with the Quran. So sometimes we see in Ramadan, some students and Muslims and students of knowledge, they are focusing on, they are reading about ilm al-hadith, mustalah al-hadith, this book, that book. Seeking knowledge is good in itself. So I was reading somewhere about the Jews, how they focus on, in tarbiyah of their children, they focus on the commentaries and explanations of Torah. So I don't know, I'm not an expert in that, but I was reading somewhere that they make it sure that their children, till they reach the age of puberty, they have understood Torah, its explanations. So this should be our method also. And Ramadan is the best way to start that. Connect with the Quran, understanding of the Quran, fahm of the Quran. And of course, the purpose is that we should become like the Prophet ﷺ. Our life should be like the Quran. So from the stories of the Salaf, we have Imam Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah, and it has been narrated by sound chains. Imam al-Bayhaqi in his book Manaqib al-Shafi'i has narrated that Imam al-Shafi'i would finish Quran 60 times in Ramadan. It's difficult. We know that hadith, finishing Quran before 3 days, but it's specific because we have sound narrations from the Salaf that some Salaf would finish Quran in one night, and it's possible. I was hearing Sheikh Kamali. Sheikh Kamali is a very famous scholar from Morocco. His Sharh on Muwatta, and he narrated a story. He said, I had a friend and he would finish Quran every night. So this is a gift and this is a blessing from Allah. But of course, understanding is better. So connecting with the Quran, like the Salaf used to connect with the Quran, read it, understand it, apply it. But of course, this needs a detailed lecture. Stories from the Salaf. Allahu A'lam.
Inshallah. Barakallahu feek. I see a question here is, how can one prepare themselves to make meaningful du'as? So, Bismillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in Surah Al-Ghafir, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم. And your Lord says, call upon me and I will respond to your call. So we know from the book of Allah that Allah encourages us to call on him frequently, not only when we are in trouble, not only when we are in need, but we should call on Allah and we should be in a constant state of making dua to Allah, that Allah accepts from us our deeds, that Allah protects our household, protects our family, that Allah protects us from evil, from the harms of the creation. We know that it was the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to recite the last three quls, Surah Ikhlas, wa Falaq wa Nas, every single night. And these are du'as in supplication, right? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. These are du'as seeking protection in Allah, in his names, from the evil of what he's created, from the evil of whisperers and those who are envious, and so on and so forth. So we know that making dua and making lots of dua is essential and an essence of our religion. But what are some of the ways in which we can get a better response or better prepare? There are several. First and foremost, I must say that it is extremely important that the one who is calling on Allah strives to ensure that his heart is one that is focused on the tawheed of Allah, that Allah is the only one who is able to help them in that situation. And they are not calling on Allah with two hearts, in which they are calling on Allah because they feel helpless and hopeless in a certain situation, but their heart is also connected to another individual or another group being able to assist them, right? You may say, oh, Allah, help me in this situation, but at the same time, your heart is connected to someone else that you believe could also help you, that you believe can also assist you in this situation. To have full and confirmed faith and conviction in Allah when you call upon him, that Allah is the one that can alleviate and make changes for you. Quickly, I remember, when I first started working in the electric field, I wanted to get Fridays off, obviously because it's Jumu'ah. But the company that I worked for, that I'm still working for as well, you can only get Friday, Saturday, or Sunday off if you have like 20 years of service. Now, imagine me, a brand new college graduate in telecommunications engineering, and I'm coming to the boss and I'm asking him for a shift that is only given to senior members. Several of my coworkers began to laugh. They're like, you're never going to get Fridays off. You just came off the street. You have only 2 weeks in the company. Who are you? I turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because I said, oh Allah, you are the one that got me this job. Yes, I went through the interviewing process. Yes, I went and studied engineering, but it was you who gave me this job. So I'm turning to you, Allah, and I'm asking you, make a way for me to have Fridays off. And subhanAllah, within 1 week's time, the manager agreed for me to have Fridays off. And every single individual in the department was upset with me. And subhanAllah, they were upset. They were livid. They said, how could you reject our seniority and give it to this young man, and so on and so forth. In the end, alhamdulillah, I kept it. I kept my Fridays off. But I was not calling on Allah while also hoping that the manager would do something. I put my entire focus on Allah opening up a way for me. So we should, rely on Allah. As we say in Surah Al-Fatiha, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone do we worship, and it is you and you alone that we ask for help. Another means of making a better dua or better preparing for dua is that we should make dua with ikhlas. It is extremely important that when we call on Allah, we call on Allah mindfully. We call on Allah with sincerity. And there are different positions in which we have increased sincerity, right? So calling on Allah in the middle of the night or the later part of the night is much greater. There are less people moving, less things are happening. You are up at a time when many people are sleeping. And, this will help in making that dua more sincere. Another way in which we can better make dua is by using Allah's different names and attributes when calling on Allah. If we are in a situation where we are requiring Allah's might, then we should call on Ya Aziz. If we are in a situation where we are, counting our sins and we are feeling hopeless, then, Ya Ghaffar, oh, the one who forgives, oh, the one who is mighty. And so there is a blessing in each and every one of Allah's names. Definitely, I could speak forever, but these are some of the ways and etiquettes in which we can try to make more meaningful du'as, and Allah knows best.
Yeah, the questions are, some of the questions are, they need time to answer, or they have details, isn't it?
Right.
Wide, very wide questions, yeah. So are there some more questions?
Yes.
In the chat room, isn't it?
Yes.
May I please know how can we prepare for i'tikaf in the home? Is it allowed?
Wait, there's another question before that. Do you see the one right before? Why Allah didn't reveal the Quran to them directly?
You answer the Sheikh. It's a difficult question.
No problem, inshallah. You do the i'tikaf, inshallah.
Okay, khair. Why Allah didn't reveal the Quran?
No. You do the i'tikaf question, inshallah.
Okay, i'tikaf, of course, when we read the Quran, Allah has mentioned it specifically that i'tikaf is in the masjid. And this is the soundest opinion. وَالْعَاكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. I'tikaf is in the masjid. But of course, if we are having hardship or we are not able to do i'tikaf in the masjid, like in our times, we are in seclusion, we are secluded, we cannot go to the masjid. In the house, we can dedicate a corner to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this used to be the culture of the Muslims, the early Muslims as well. We have some ahadith when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba would request the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to visit their houses, and they would have a corner for salah, and they would request the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to pray there, so that they would take it as musalla. Isn't it, Sheikh Hassan? We have this hadith.
Correct.
So it means that, and we see, for example, this hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said that the salah of a woman is better in her house than the masjid. And in her house, in the masjid of the house, it's better. So masjid of the house means the corner in which you always pray, you dedicate it. And we used to have that. Wallahi, I remember back in Kashmir, we used to have a room where we would have this musalla, Quran, and calligraphy, all these names of Allah and names of the Prophet ﷺ. And I remember my mother used to tell me that if you enter that room, so that we don't mess with the Quran, and we don't mess with everything. This room, it's room of Allah, and there are angels and jinns in this room. So we would always stay away from that room. But this is a good practice. Muslims should dedicate a corner where you don't do anything else. Inshallah, you will see the barakah. So perhaps in our times, we are not able to do i'tikaf in the masjid. We seclude ourselves we take out some time, seclude ourselves from our families in that corner, we worship Allah. But wallahu alam, in my personal opinion, i'tikaf is connected with the masjid technically. Okay, so wallahu alam. If you want to add something, Sheikh Hassan, you can please.
Inshallah. No. This is a complete answer. Bismillah.
These quick questions are really difficult. We have difference of opinion. Giving tarjih is not easy. Is it?
SubhanAllah, I found myself answering many of these questions, first letting them know anyone who does research will find a difference of opinion. So yes, let's just say that to begin with. And then inshallah, let me answer the question as best as I can. So definitely these questions are of that nature. So this question by Abdul Hakim on why Allah didn't reveal the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad directly, why by Jibreel? So first and foremost, we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran in Surah لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون, that he, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not questioned about what he does, but they, meaning you and I, will be questioned about what we do, right? So first and foremost, we need to establish the fact that it is not befitting for us to question why Allah did something or why Allah did not do something, right? It is not befitting for us. Allah is our Rabb, Allah is our Lord, and we are His abd, we are His slaves, and we are His servants. And it is never befitting for a servant to question their master. And Allah is the Al-Malikul Muluk, is the King of Kings and the Master of Masters. But there are times when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His mercy, in which He grants us knowledge and greater understanding for why He has prohibited certain things and why He has encouraged for us to intake in certain things. As it relates for the revelation of the Quran, we should first state that the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has decreed the manner in which He would give revelation to His prophets and His messengers, right? And so we know from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that there were 40 ways by which the Prophet would receive revelation, 40 doors of revelation in one narration. And the Prophet, he mentioned that all of these doors are closed except for the true dream. So the true dream is the only door of wahi, the only door of revelation or inspiration that is still open to us in this time that we are in. So it is from Allah's infinite wisdom that He chose to reveal to the Prophet in many ways, either by the angel Jibreel coming down in the angel Jibreel's original form and bringing revelation to the Prophet, or the angel Jibreel coming down in the human form, or even on the trip of Al-Isra wal Mi'raj, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam met Allah. Allah gave him the last two ayats of Surah Baqarah directly. The Prophet ﷺ would also be inspired through dreams. The Prophet ﷺ would also be inspired through the ringing of a bell. He would hear the revelation ringing in his ears. So it is from the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives the revelation through many different ways and many different doors. And it is not, again, befitting for us to demand that or to ask of Allah that He only inspire through direct conversation. And Allah knows best.
So the point, Sheikh, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed wahi through direct conversation also.
Yes, as well.
Is it? But there are other ways.
But there are other ways as well. Yes, correct. Yep. Allah has revealed directly, but He has also chosen to reveal in many other ways. And this was befitting for the companions to see and to learn themselves. I mean, let's look at the hadith of Jibreel. The Jibreel came in the form of a man, very white clothing, very black beard, and he comes and he sits and he learns. And after going over, what is Iman and what is Islam and what is Ihsan, after Jibreel, he leaves, right? The Prophet ﷺ asks Umar, do you know who that was? No one knew who it was. Jibreel, he came to teach you your deen. From the way and the manners, the scholars in speaking about this hadith, the etiquette and the way that Jibreel he approached, the way that he sat in front of the Prophet, the way that he asked questions, his positions, his manner, even the form that he came in, that he came and his hair was very black. The scholars, they tell us that this means that, young people who don't have gray hair, they are the ones that should be seeking knowledge and should be striving for it. He didn't come as an old man. There are so many other additional benefits by which the Prophet would gain from receiving the wahi through Jibreel. So yes, Allah has revealed the Quran directly, but He has also used other ways for other wisdoms and other knowledges, for other benefits, shall I say. And Allah knows best.
What is the time there, Sheikh?
The time right now is 10:45 in the morning.
So how many hours of Siyam do you have?
Oh, we have 15 hours, 15 and a half hours. How about you in Turkey?
I think it's 16 hours, yeah.
16, right? Yes, I think it's the same. Because the time is
in Malaysia, it's easy.
Is it? How long is it in Malaysia?
I don't know, but I remember that in some Ramadans, we used to have the suhoor at 6 and also iftar at 6, maybe 6:30.
Wow, 12 hours.
Yeah.
12 hours. You know what I thought to myself, subhanAllah, the other day? I remember when my parents first came to this country from Jamaica. We were fasting in the wintertime. This was almost 30 years ago. because, you know, the nature of the Islamic calendar is that it's moving, you know, every 10 days, it's shifting earlier and earlier. And so I said, subhanAllah, man, they had an easy fast, fasting in the winter time, literally maybe 8 or 9 hours of fast. And I'm standing in salah, and then after the salah is over, and I thought to myself, I said, subhanAllah, when I become old, inshallah, if Allah gives me life, the later part of my days, when I'm 60 and 70, it's going to be winter time here. And so I'm going to have an easy fast in the last part of my life, alhamdulillah. So, you know, I'm kind of looking forward to the, you know, the blessing of fasting in the winter, you know, as an older man, inshallah, if Allah grants us life.
Sahih. Yeah, we have some narrations from the Salaf. They would say that winters are ghanimatul abidin.
Subhanallah.
Ghanima, and how to translate the word ghanima?
Man,
A good opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah,
best opportunity for worshippers.
Right, subhanallah. It definitely is, especially for the night prayer as well. You know, in the winter time, just specifically, not in the context of Ramadan, the night is so long, you know, so the night is starting at 5 o'clock. There's no reason for you not to have night prayer, Qiyamul Layl. You know, you're not going to bed until 9 or 10. You can literally start your night prayer at 7 or 8 and start getting that extra hasanat of reading in the night in the winter months. MashaAllah, it is a blessing opportunity.
We have this question about istighfar.
Oh, how can we understand
when Allah commands us to make more and more istighfar? What does it mean? Of course, it also means the number. It means that we know this hadith that the Prophet ﷺ would make istighfar and seek forgiveness from Allah 100 times every day, isn't it? So more means the number, but we should focus on the quality. Quality is very important. Fulfilling the conditions of tawbah and istighfar. If we are seeking forgiveness by our tongues and the actions are not proving it, it will not be accepted. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith of Musnad Ahmad, the Prophet said, an-nadmu tawbah. The regret in the heart is the essence of tawbah. Like the Prophet ﷺ said, al-hajju arafah. Of course, hajj is not only arafah. It's focusing on the best part. So the foundation of tawbah is regret in the heart. If a person has true regret in the heart, means he's not أخذته العزة بالإثم, as Quran puts it. He's not arrogant on his sin. He doesn't think, oh, what I did was the best. I don't have any regret. No one can stop me. No one can like this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Kullu ummati mu'afa." Whole of my ummah will be eventually forgiven. Allah will forgive them, inshallah, because they are on khair. Illa al-mujahirun, except those who openly commit sins. They are arrogant on their sins. They don't care. I don't care mentality. I commit a sin, I make it public. No one can stop me. So these people, they will never be forgiven, because the foundation of forgiveness is nadama. If you have true regret, you're sorry for what you did. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. We know this dhikr of Sayyidul Istighfar. Abu'u laka bi dhanbi, isn't it? I uqirru. I accept my mistake, O Allah. That's why this dhikr is, you can memorize it, you can see it in Hisnul Muslim, those who are watching. So this dhikr is Sayyidul Istighfar. It is the leader of istighfar. Why? Because you are accepting your mistake. You're saying, oh Allah, khalas, I'm nothing. I committed this. Yeah, I did something wrong. So this Allah loves. Okay, so this regret, it will lead you to two more pillars, which is you will leave the sin, because if you have regret, you will hate the sin, you will leave the sin immediately. And you will have strong determination in the heart that you will not go back to the sin. So this strong determination, azm, is based on this regret and nadama. So if the nadama is strong, the azm will be strong, of course. If the nadama is weak, the azm will be weak.
Correct.
Quality of istighfar. Quality of istighfar. And always making istighfar means, for example, even for example, the dhikr after salah, when we say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, if we use our weak aql, it should be alhamdulillah. because I've achieved something. The first words after salam should be alhamdulillah. But the first words are astaghfirullah, isn't it? So it means la tuzakku anfusakum. Don't think you have done something best. It's tawfiq of Allah. It's guidance of Allah, which has helped you. So even if you are doing the best, you prayed, ibadah is the best, salah is the best ibadah. Even after finishing it, you don't say alhamdulillah. You say astaghfirullah. I did my best. I performed the best ibadah, but still mistakes. I'm your weak slave. Allah loves this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves this. So quality of istighfar, seeking istighfar always in ease and hardship. Seeking, that's why some scholars, they say the most pious or the best from the believers, they seek istighfar more after doing good deeds. They're not worried about istighfar for sins. They're more worried about istighfar for good deeds. So that is accepted. May Allah grant us understanding of istighfar, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us in seeking forgiveness. So this is Allahu Alam. Allah knows best.
And I think this is the last question, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. My question is regarding the Taraweeh prayer performed with 4 rak'ah and 1 salam. Our country's mufti, Malaysia, is inclined towards the definite opinion in Madhab al-Shafi'i, which is the Taraweeh prayer must be performed with 2 rak'ah and 1 salam. So if this is performed differently, is it considered invalid? I do not believe it's befitting for me to speak after the Mufti of Malaysia has spoken. If he is inclined towards the opinion that according to the Madhab al-Shafi'i, which is the same opinion that I am inclined to, then the Mufti's statement is enough. The prayer should be 2 by 2, and inshallah it is enough. So definitely, inshallah, I hope that we were able to answer some of you guys' questions. It is a great pleasure to have Sheikh Shuaib with us, and as a surprise, mashallah.
The pleasure is mine, yeah. I'm taking some courses with Aris online. Now, in the times of Corona, people are getting more interested in online education. So we are trying our best.
Alhamdulillah, that's excellent. Excellent. This. And you're teaching at the facility in Turkey? I believe it was a facility, an Aris facility in Turkey. Or is there anything in Turkey?
No, I'm not teaching there. I'm, of course, we are confined to our homes. Yeah, I'm using a Wi-Fi teaching online.
Understood.
It was
Aris
nice
had
seeing you, Sheikh,
Turkey
after a long time. I remember when you came to Malaysia.
Yes, I know.
But I'm following you. I use a secret Facebook account to
really?
see something. Yeah, so I'm following your activities, whatever you do, mashallah. May Allah bless us all. May Allah grant barakah.
May Allah gather us together, inshallah. It will be very good for one day in the future, inshallah. Allah gather us back together to sit and to eat and to talk and to chat, inshallah, and catch up, inshallah.
Khair, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, inshallah.
Ameen, inshallah. May Allah continue to preserve the baby, inshallah. Your son has a name?
Yeah, we named him Ismail.
Ismail, nice, mashallah.
Make dua, special dua.
Inshallah, may Allah bless him, may Allah strengthen him, may Allah make him from among the imams of the ummah, may Allah make him a reason for the softness of your eye and the joy of your eye, inshallah. May Allah preserve all of our children as well during these difficult times, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la
See you, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Excellent.